This is the Leadership School podcast. From conflict resolution, boundaries, and customer service, we dive into what it takes to be an extraordinary leader. I'm Kyla Cofer, and this is episode 3. So last night, we went on a family walk, and we ended up at a neighbor's house. And while we were there, my 4-year-old son found a penny in the middle of their living room floor. And he picked it up and said to his dad, "Can I have this?" He said, "Look, I found a penny." And his dad was, "Well, that belongs to our neighbors. You can't just take their penny. Maybe you should ask first." And so he did ask, "Can I have this penny?" And of course they said yes. I mean, it's just a penny. But what it made me think of was today's podcast episode on integrity. You know, we are trying to teach our children from, very, very young ages that integrity matters. Integrity is important. And it starts with things that are small as a penny on your neighbor's living room floor. And how to practice that even as children. And so today's episode is all about integrity and integrity in leadership. And I have to be honest here. I have been practicing living with integrity my entire life. And leading with integrity, that's been really important to me, which is why I'm doing an entire leadership school podcast based on creating the foundations for you to be a leader with integrity. But I'm kind of scared in doing this episode. It's a little nerve-wracking to think that whoever out there is going to be listening to me talk about integrity, and what if I get it wrong? What if I have told you something wrong or led you astray, or maybe I don't have the qualifications to teach you how to lead with integrity? And, I think all of those are just fears that come into our lives when we're talking about things that are important because we don't want to get it wrong. And I think that right there is the very foundation of integrity. When you Google it, the definition of integrity, Google tells me that it's the quality of being honest and having strong moral principles and moral uprightness. So I think a little bit of my fear for coming to you tonight talking about integrity is the desire to have those strong moral principles and that moral uprightness, to be honest, to be trustworthy, and to be someone that you can count on, to make sure that I'm not bringing you, false information or something that's going to turn you, I guess, astray or a wrong direction, something that would hurt you in the end. And really, I that's not who I want to be. I want to be here. I want to be leading with integrity, and I want to give you skills and tools to do that. Now, I'm not saying that you don't already have the skills to be a person with integrity. If you're listening to this podcast, chances are that's who you are. That's already what you do, is that you choose to lead with integrity. You want to be honest. You want to have strong moral principles. You want to be upright. You want to be someone that people can trust and come to. You do that in your career. You do that in your daily life. You're not going to steal pennies off your neighbor's kitchen floor, your living room floor, because you care about your neighbors. And so how can we talk about integrity today in a way that's different, in a way that encourages you and gives you the support that you need in your leadership? I've got lots of different ideas. I've got notes here in front of me. I'm thinking through all these things, but really what I want to just say to you is that being a person with integrity means that you care, means that it's important to you to be truthful, to be trustworthy. It means that it's important to you to not point people in a direction that would harm them on purpose. And if you are listening to this and you're practicing that, then that is integrity. I want you to also hear that when you are practicing leading with integrity, that it doesn't mean you're always going to get it right. Integrity is tough. Being truthful and honest 100% of the time is tough. When I was a kid, we had a motto in our family. It was our family motto: always tell the truth and never tell a lie. But it didn't always hold up. It held up like if I hurt one of my siblings. Now, did you do that? Yes, I did it. Did you steal the cookies out of the cookie jar? Yes, I did. Trying to be honest in those situations. But sometimes it didn't hold up. Like, I wasn't always truthful about my feelings, for instance. How are you feeling right now about this? Oh, I'm fine. Usually that was my response to, I don't want to talk about it, when really I wasn't fine. And so, but that was a lie. Does that make me a person of not having integrity? Perhaps. I think that probably depends on your perspective and your opinions, but that's what we're here to tell you today to talk about. What does integrity mean to you? Does it mean that all of the time, in every circumstance, you are 100% of the time going to be telling the truth? So when your spouse comes and says, "Hey, do I look good in this?" and they really, really don't, or their haircut looks absolutely terrible, what would integrity mean? For me, I would say, nope, that doesn't look good. Don't like it. Because in that situation, I don't want my partner to be going out looking like a fool, because they would be embarrassed. He would be embarrassed, and uh, but also that could mean, in a difficult circumstance when somebody has wronged you. How are you going to respond to that? Are you going to be direct? Are you going to confront them? Or does it mean turning away, going a different direction? Does integrity mean forgiveness and reconciliation? There's so many different things incorporated into this word, into the meaning behind it. And I want to just know today, what does that mean to you? What does it mean to be that person and that leader of integrity? So I've got some suggestions here and some ideas and some situations that maybe will give you some opportunities to think about your leadership with integrity. Integrity comes into play when we're working with employees, the very people who work for us. Are we caring for them well? Are we treating them with respect and dignity? Are we paying them what they're worth? That's part of integrity. Are we being honest about their responsibilities? Are we setting them up for success? Or are we blaming them for things that went wrong that are really our fault because we didn't prepare them properly, or we didn't have proper things in place? I recently did a webinar series that it didn't flop, but the technology flopped. The technology really didn't work well. I had signed up for a webinar platform, and it really just didn't. It was unsuccessful. The webinar series itself went through. We accomplished it. It was fine. It was over, but the technology really flopped. And as much as I want to blame the technology issues on the webinar platform, there are things I could have done differently. I could have, as soon as I learned about the issues, switched everything to a new platform and worked to make sure that happened. And I chose not to do that because it was going to be really, really difficult. And I didn't know that it was possible, but I could have tried that. There are things that I could have tried. And I could take ownership of knowing that the webinar itself was my responsibility. And, I think integrity in that situation just looks different depending on what perspective you're coming from, right? Having integrity with the small things, taking ownership of the small things. So I mentioned employees. Let's talk about business management, having integrity with your taxes. Now, did you really use that entire room exclusively for your business purposes? In the United States, we have a home office tax write-off. But that room, that space, I just use a chair really in my office currently. It has to be used exclusively for business purposes. And they'll ask you that on your tax form. Now, okay, you had this chair for your office. Did you use it exclusively? Well, no, sometimes I use it to watch TV. So how do you determine there? Okay, if I'm going to be a person of integrity, I chose to say, no, it wasn't exclusive. I couldn't claim my home office credit. Did your cell phone use or claiming your taxes in certain ways, making sure that in the small things, being a person with integrity, being truthful about what you use and what you serve, even if it doesn't benefit you in the long run. Integrity with customer service, with your clients, being honest about the services that you provide or you can't provide. When there's a problem, making sure that you're the one to correct it, that you do everything you can to do that. We'll talk about that in a future episode on how to fail well, how to apologize well, especially with your clients, your customers. Again, integrity with the small things. I once heard that means at your job, not even taking paper clips home with you, not stealing from your company, even in the smallest of ways, like making personal copies on the copy machine without permission, or this one's a common one, using the business credit card for personal reasons. Sometimes that happens. You just grab the wrong card and you don't realize it. But as soon as you do, owning it, paying for the expense, and making sure that you're not you're not stealing in that way. So integrity in business, in your nonprofit, in your career, it's extremely important. It can make or break your business. We've seen that a lot in the last year. It can make or break, and your integrity, and that doesn't just make or break you, but it affects other people. And when you are not leading with integrity, that trickles down and it harms you and it harms the people that you're trying to serve. Having integrity, even if it does benefit you. So, for example, when your paycheck might be too high, and if you happen to notice, oh, something's not wrong, like my bonus wasn't taxed, or my housing allowance is 3 times more than it was in the past. I've had these situations where, as a bookkeeper, I've made mistakes, and people have contacted me and said, my paycheck was wrong. It was way too much. And we have to go back and go, oh, you're right. I made a complete mistake here. Thank you so much for noticing that, even when it benefited you. And the people who've done that have, honestly, I have so much respect for. And I have a lot of gratitude towards them for informing me of my mistake. So having integrity, even if it does not benefit you, or even if in a situation that might benefit you, keeping a promise that might cost you. When you say, hey, I'm going to give you a reward for this, and then you never give that reward, you're harming your integrity. If you are just throwing around words because they feel good, or you're trying to make somebody feel better about themselves. Oh, you're so great and you're the best person I've ever hired or worked with. I'm going to give you all these bonuses and rewards and thank you so much. And you're just kind of saying those things because it sounds good in the moment, when really you just have no intention of doing those things. When you say you're going to do something, you do it. That is integrity right there. It is keeping your promises. It is admitting when you're wrong, when you've made a mistake, being honest about that. It is being truthful in your communications with people about saying, no, really, I'm disappointed in the work that you've done right now, but that doesn't mean I'm angry at you, or that doesn't mean you failed. It means I'm disappointed. So let's see where we can go to make this better. Or I'm disappointed in myself right now. I did not live up to the expectations that you had for me. So I'm working on that. I had my first job out of college. So I will never forget this. I was really new in a job. I was young. I didn't have a clue what I was doing. Well, not entirely, but I was struggling a little bit and felt pretty uncomfortable. And it was a risk for the company to hire me straight out of college. And they did anyways. They really believed in me, and I'm just never will stop being grateful for that. But I remember that at one point, that one of my coworkers came up to me and said, "Hey, Kyla, I am really sorry for what happened in this situation earlier. This was your area to work on, and I just took over and took control. And I shouldn't have done that. I should have included you in that situation, and not only just included you, but allowed you to take charge in that moment. And I just didn't do that. And I'm sorry." I could not believe that moment. I've never had anybody do something like that to me. And it was just so refreshing as a woman, as a person in a new career, to be treated with that kind of respect. It was not even something that I had noticed because I was so new on the job, but it was something I really valued that moment and saw that person. To this day, I see that person as being a person with sincere integrity, and have always counted on that person to be honest. And I've trusted a lot of myself to that person in my words and in conversations, and knowing in times when I was afraid, I went to that person because I trusted that I would always get an honest response, because of that one moment of coming to me and apologizing and making sure that I understood what my roles and responsibilities were. I would love to hear. You can send me private messages through my podcast website, anchor.fm/Kyla Cofer, I believe. And you could send me a voice message there, or you can always message me directly. You can email me directly at Kyla@lifecoachkyla.com. And I would love to hear from you, your stories of integrity. I would love to share those with you on future episodes. What are stories that you've had of people who've really made a difference in your life because of how they practiced their integrity, because how they practiced being trustworthy with you, or times when you got to show up with integrity and take ownership of something, or a time when you've really failed at being a person of integrity? Because we all have those failures, and those failures are how we learn and how we grow. And how do we know when we're acting out of integrity? Glennon Doyle uses the term the knowing inside of you. You have just this thing inside of you that just knows what's right. Other people call it the ego or the soul or the spirit. There's so many different words. The third eye for this part of you that just knows what's right and knows what to do. And I want to just say that I really believe in you. I believe that you have that in you, that when you're stuck in a situation and you're not sure what to do, that you do have integrity. And your integrity guides you. It teaches you. Your desire for being a trustworthy, moral person will guide you. Now, that won't come and play in all decisions, obviously, but it does guide your decisions. And I know that you have that ability in you, that you're already doing those things, that you're already leading with integrity. And my hope is that I can just encourage and support you in just some small way in that journey. So this week, I really want to challenge you just to take notice when integrity comes up, when you have opportunities to be a person of integrity, or when you notice that somebody else is acting out of integrity towards you. Take pride in being a person of integrity. Value that. I'll end you here with a quote from a friend of ours. When my husband and I first met, we had a friend named Jonesy. And Jonesy, they worked in a shop they built stages for bands. And he would look back at something that he had just created and he would say, sometimes you just have to step back and dig yourself. And I think that holds true for all areas of our life and even in our integrity. And it's not erroneous to say that, I'm a person of integrity. That's who I am. And being proud of that is appropriate because you strive for that. It's who you are and who you want to be. And what that means is that you can be trusted when I come to you with a problem, and when I come to you for my business, and when I want to support you with my time, my money, my resources, that I trust that you will do well with those things. So have a great week, a week full of integrity. Send me your messages and your stories. I can't wait to hear those, and I look forward to seeing you for our next episode. Hey, if you enjoy listening to this podcast, you have to come check out my 8-week leadership coaching program. You can see all the details on my website at kylacofer.com. That's spelled KYLACOF as in friend, ER.com. Thanks for listening.